So I think architecture and entrepreneurship and product, it's very similar in the way you think about, I have a concept, I have an idea of how I'm going to make people's life better.
Orit Balicer Tsur, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic. You know, it's 9 p.m. It's after Shabbat dinner where you're at. So first of all, thank you for taking the time to do this so late. And what you mentioned was that, this is the reality of living between continents, right?
That's right, yeah. I'm used to it by now.
Definitely. So architect by profession, then turning into a product manager at Lyft, serial entrepreneur with an acquisition behind you, now running a startup in stealth mode. And while you can't share too much about it, I'd love to hear a little bit about the insights that led you towards this new endeavor. But Orit, take me back all the way to Bezalel and take me back to your architecture days. Like what was architecture all about? Because if you're looking at your track record today, it seems so bizarre to be on your resume.
Yeah, I know it's really not the usual way to do it. Most of the product managers or entrepreneurs come from a different background, but I wanted to be an architect since I was, I think, 10. My best friend's grandfather was a very good architect, and I saw his work, and I was, okay, this is the profession that I want to choose for myself when I grow up.
What was it about architecture? Why?
So I think one thing was about creativity, the way that you just invent things and then people use them. And I think there was something holistic about architecture. It was a little bit of math, a little bit of art, a little bit of psychology. And, it just had everything in it that was very appealing to me. And there was the thing about, it was a profession that had a name. It was, what are you? I'm an architect. It's understandable. You can explain it. You can understand. You can grasp it when you are a kid and when you are a grown-up too. Something that is easily explained to your grandmother.
Much more difficult when you're running a stealth startup, right?
Exactly. What is it exactly that you're doing? I'm not sure if, my parents know what I'm doing, but I'm not sure if they understand fully what I'm doing, how my day-to-day looks like. And so I went ahead and I studied architecture in Bezalel, Jerusalem, Israel, and I became an architect, and I loved it. If you would ask me during my years at Bezalel if I would ever change profession, I would tell you, hell no way. I will be an architect. That's like the best profession in the world. I still think that. Definitely in terms of what is architecture, the essence of it, it's the most beautiful profession in the whole world. It's a little bit different, I think, the day-to-day. Dealing with contractors is not exactly what you're thinking about when you are studying. But still, a beautiful thing to do. And what happened eventually was that I was working as an architect, and I was teaching at Bezalel after I graduated.
Right.
But I had this opportunity to come and work for a startup. First, when I was still a student, I was employee number 6 in Kaltura, which was still is
incredible,
an amazing company. And it all started back then. We were working from, I would say the garage. The garage was very nice, very well placed, but still, it's like it was building it from the essentials, and it was an amazing experience. And then when I was already an architect, I had all these chances to go and be a consultant to different startups. And I said, yeah, I like it. I like doing it, so I'll do it after hours. So I had a day job and then a night job as a consultant. One of the companies that I worked for was Celudo, which back then had a product that was built for, I think, almost 2 years, and no even one user saw the product back then.
Wow.
I mean, it sounds crazy today, but the days were before, before the lean startup. It wasn't so obvious that you have to meet the users in order to build a good product, and so there was a great technology, amazing team. And I joined, to start running the alpha, the beta, and go out. We went to TechCrunch Disrupt, and we won the first place
Wow.
at TechCrunch Disrupt. At Saludo, I was started as a consultant, but what happened was that the CEO asked me to stay a little longer and be head of marketing. And I
Unbelievable.
said, okay, I will do that for a couple of years, and then I'll go back and be an architect. So that
Of
was
course.
2000. And I'm still
Unbelievable.
waiting.
No, I do have to say, Orit, because the way that I'm thinking about the architecture scene, and I'm thinking about the startup scene, the startup scene is all about agile and about trying new things. And maybe back then, back in the day in Kaltura and Saludo, we still didn't have the lean startup methodology, and it wasn't about move fast and break things. But today, it's very evident. And when you're running a startup, and I'm sure that when you were running your product at Lyft, which we'll talk about very soon, it's all about trying very, very quickly things, getting a lot of market validation. When you're an architect and you're building building an office space, or you're building a building, it's like the most waterfall thing you can do, right? You lay out all the plans, and then you're committing to a 3-year project, and God forbid something changes. I'm just assuming. So it's interesting how you're relating the two things, but you're not focusing on the difference between them. You're focusing on the beauty behind each industry.
Definitely, and I think, well, you said 3 years. I think that's true in the States, but in Israel, I think when you are an architect, you will be where you
Right.
actually fit. It's amazing. I think one of the reasons why I went and wanted to be an architect was this notion of thinking about something, making it realized, and then it's going to be there after you. And that was an amazing thing to think about for me. And with startups, it's not exactly the same thing. It's not going to be there after you. It's as you said, like very short cycles. You're building something. 5 years from now, what you build is no longer going to be there. You have to keep reinventing everything. But that has a beauty of its own in a way. So I think architecture and entrepreneurship and product, it's very similar in the way you think about, I have a concept, I have an idea of how I'm going to make people's life better, and then I'm going to take into account everything that I have to take from all sides, from financials and from behavioral aspects and delightfulness and all sorts of things to think about, and then I have to translate that to a different language that someone else have to go ahead and execute. So you have to do this. So both are very, very similar in that kind of a way. But what's nice about building startups is that you see that small dents that you're making, it's not going to be there for years. It's not, people are not living in it, but you're making this dent and you see it immediately. And with a it's pretty exciting because you see it from scratch, becoming real. It's kind of magic in a way. And in larger companies, what's amazing is seeing the data, is building something, and then you're putting it out there. Millions of people are using it the day after, and then you're starting to see the effect of it. And the effect is amazing because if you're doing something that has meaning, then you automatically, when you A/B test it, you automatically see the difference. You see it's just there. That's a different
right. So you have the privilege of both running an early stage startup, which also got acquired. So you were saying how you have this hypothesis, but really only to get to be able to test this hypothesis, which really is the essence of the company. It can take a lot of time, and this is sort of the make or break moment. And then you go on and you're running a product within Lyft, and you get to see, well, yeah, so we have this hypothesis. Let's just roll something out, do A/B testing, and within the next day, we can make some executive decisions on and hypothesize on how this is going to grow. Talk to me a little bit about this product you were building at Lyft and some of this process that you went through as a product manager, perhaps even looking at some of the lessons you learned from from your architecture days?
Sure. So actually, I think in a way, Lyft was the product I built for Lyft. Actually, I used some of the understanding of how cities and people work,
Really?
how they behave. Yeah, because the first product I built for Lyft was around commute. What I was doing at Lyft was running shared ride experiences, which is basically every new experience or new product that more than one rider is using. And
Right.
so first one was focusing on commute and was this idea around, okay, so for Lyft, you're tapping a button and you're getting a driver and they take you to the place that you need to go, which is, amazing for certain people or for certain situations. But if you are not making like a lot of money, you
Right.
can't use the commute. So I was trying to figure out how we can make it cheaper for people to ride every day, how we can make it more, let's say, how people can plan around it, which was
Right.
very important. Trying to figure out what's important for people who commute is very different than trying to figure out what is important when you're going out for a date or
100%.
ride to the airport. And some of the values were around how I can plan around it, how I can know that I'm getting exactly or a very similar experience every day. That was very important. The behavioral aspect was very important, more than I imagined. Apparently, people prefer to get, let's say, less superior experience in terms of like how long they are riding, which I think is in a way counterintuitive, but they would
Right.
rather longer. But if they're riding the same way, they know exactly how long it's going to take, and they're taking the ride from the same spot and getting to the same spot, sometimes meeting the same people on the way and riding with them. That's more important than
Wow.
getting there the fastest. Apparently, people prefer to know that they are going to be at the office at 9 a.m. rather than like sometimes at 8:30 and sometimes at 9:30. And so we designed the product according to those insights that we got from people.
But Orit,
And those
how do you get those insights? So is this solely based on analytics and you're watching how hundreds of thousands of people are interacting with your product and whether you're what is the churn rate and what they're focusing on, or do you actually have to go and speak to them personally? How does it even work?
So that's the nice thing about a big company. When you're in a very large company with a very large user base, you can do both. And the thing about asking questions are you have to ask the right questions, and you don't know
Right.
how to ask the right questions and then try to figure it out with data if you don't have an hypothesis. So to get that hypothesis, you have to have good intuition, I think, and a lot of empathy to your users, and you have to speak with them. So I would say the process, in a way, in the beginning, is more similar to building a startup.
Hmm.
From because you have to talk face to face with people who experience it, who and you have to ask the right questions. You don't want to influence them. You don't want to have these like ideas that you're having incepted in their minds. You have
Right.
to get the real problems, the real pains, figure them out, and then try to solve them. And once you do that, you can try and ask the questions with data. You can try and figure out if you're right or wrong. And usually the right way to do it is not go ahead and build this huge product that is containing everything you had in mind and has this like amazing experience end to end all figured out, because you're probably going to be wrong about
Right.
at least some. And then the way I think about it is you have to break your assumptions to little pieces and try the leanest way to figure each one out with data. And once you have that, you can start to build your bigger vision and transform it into a product.
Again, something very, very different from when you're designing a building that is meant to bring a delight to customers. And there, you can't really just build like, one room and then say, hey, do you like this? Maybe you can, I don't know, maybe it's sophisticated enough, but it sounds like, especially when you're running a startup or product manager at Lyft, you're able to take these very small chunks of hypotheses and implement them in small scenarios and test them out. But I want to talk a little bit about the insights that are leading now towards your next venture, which hopefully by the time this airs, we'll know a little bit about. What are those insights? What got you really excited into this idea of the future of workforce?
So I think one of the reasons I was starting to be kind of, obsessed with this problem space was I was naturally taking Lyfts every day, twice a day,
Right.
At least. And I was talking to the drivers all the time. Sometimes it was part of the work. Most of the time, just because I liked talking with people. And
Right.
then I try to figure out what's bothering them. Why are they doing it? And I felt very fortunate to work for a ride-sharing company because I felt it gives the drivers this opportunity to make a living when sometimes they can't. Many of the people had those situations where they were, unemployed and or between jobs or moving between, one geography to another or waiting to get their
Right.
certificate. So being able to provide them, oh, Michael, I think we got disconnected.
Yep, I think I lost it for a second.
Can you hear me?
I think yep, yeah, just repeat that again.
So I think that opportunity they had to be able to just get in the car and start earning money, so they won't lose everything, was really
Right.
important. To me, it was a great mission, a great cause to work for. But then underneath that, that big mission and that opportunity lies a lot of problems that are unsolved yet, just with ride sharing. So talking with them, I thought that sometimes they don't want to do it because maybe they don't have a prospect. They can't see how they're going to have, to progress or have, to learn something new or to have a career path or something they do just, between some parts, between jobs. And then other problems were that they were thinking they can make a living, but not all drivers can make a living out of ride sharing. It's just the nature of how those marketplaces work, is that they have, peak hours and downtimes, and some drivers can, really optimize their time, and sometimes they're very lucky and they can get enough rides, but if they're not at the right place at the right times, they just don't get rides and they can't make a living for it, just driving. Well, statistically, more than 80% of the drivers are working on more than one platform because of that. Exactly.
Really?
And so,
okay.
Yeah, it's crazy, but that's the numbers. And so I was thinking, how can I make those people's life better? How can I provide them with everything that is lacking? And how can I build a product that will suit them? And that's how I started overall, which is still in stealth mode. So I'm unfortunately I'm not going to talk a lot about what it is exactly, but stay tuned.
I love it. I love it. Well, Orit, best of luck with overall. Just in two sentences, give me a little bit of taste as to what Keepers was, and a little bit about being a first-time entrepreneur, you've joined early stage companies before, but now you're running your own company. You're one of the co-founders. You get to the acquisition. What are some of the key moments in that journey that you're going to take with you into your next venture?
So there are several, and I think, and looking at that, it's not just Keepers. I think it's kind of a thing that was built throughout my career, and you can kind of connect the dots. So Keepers was an amazing experience. It was the first time I'm an entrepreneur. I saw how it was done by other great entrepreneurs I worked with. never done it before. And I think one of the amazing things that I discovered that was that I can be jack of all trades. I can do everything. I was,
Right.
designing the screens because with Illustrator skills that I had from Bezalel, and I was building the experiences, and I was marketing and analyzing the data we had and interviewing potential clients. And I just had to do all of it and be good, good enough, let's say, with everything. And then
Right.
when I got to Lyft, I figured that kind of skill is not required anymore. I didn't have to do
Right.
anything like everything anymore. Actually, it wasn't a good idea to do everything by myself. Lyft had amazing engineers and data scientists and great designers, and then I had to figure out, well, and then what is my role here?
Right.
And I think my main lesson was I have to take those like amazing people and make sure that the good ideas that I'm having are resonating
Right.
with them. Everyone knows what direction they have to run, and then
Right.
run they
I
can
love it.
to that direction. And taking that lesson with me, actually, I think it's pretty much, I take it now to my new startup, even though it's just starting and it's not the case yet.
Right.
In my I still have to be jack of all trades, but building the team
Right.
means I have to think about what kind of team I'm building, what kind of culture, a culture which puts those people in the center of things and being aligned and working together and bringing A-type kind of people, 10x engineers, 10x designers, because once you have those amazing people, you have to lead the way and everything kind of happens the right way.
Orit, thank you again for being so generous with your time and for all the insights. This is wonderful. Before we leave, I need 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
Okay, so I would say creative or creating. That's the one thing that's important for me. That's why I'm waking up in the morning. The other word I would say would be doubt. I'm doubting everything. Never take anything for granted. I try to check. I try to figure out if the assumptions are right. I think that would be the second one. The third one would probably be family, which is
Love it.
the one most important thing in my life.
100%, and I'm sure it's going to be an interesting ride going through now an early stage startup still in stealth mode with the family, but best of luck, and I can't wait to see more about overall, and thank you again for being so generous with your time. It's really great.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.